Welcome back to Talking Comics and Heroes and Villains. I'm Eric, and this is
Arnie?
the Barbarian. And today we read Conan the Barbarian. It's the first issue of the Queen of the Black Coast storyline. And Brian Wood wrote it, and Becky Cloonan drew it.
There's boobies in this book.
Oh my god, there's so many boobies and booby barians in this book. It's amazing. You didn't like it.
I didn't say that.
I'm calling you out right now.
I didn't say that.
You're like,
there's
nah.
boobies in this book. What's not to like?
I mean, that's true. And swords.
And Conan has a wet dream in the ocean?
And there's pirates.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Brian Wood did DMZ, which is a very progressive book about looking at the United States as if it were in the Middle East, kind of. It's like a demilitarized zone. It's portrayed as
was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And now he's doing like this sword and sorcery kind of barbarian book. That's really interesting to me.
He adds an emo flair to it.
Yeah, or just like a stylized modern sensibility. It's kind of like he did a book called Northlanders, which was like a Viking story.
Yeah, that's right.
Where they use like modern colloquialisms. They'd be like, "Hey, you mother effer," and they axe a guy, and it felt like they're more bikers and barbarians.
Yeah, that wasn't as emo though as this. This was a little more. I just felt it was a little more sentimental.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it had a little more. Oh, woe is me, Conan.
Conan?
Because he's still a young Conan, and he's trying to like find
He's
himself
not the
in a
king.
way.
Yeah.
So,
I like that he's an honorable dude though, because Conan he looks like just a savage, but he's not, and that's the whole point of Conan. Is that
I don't know.
society.
He chopped the judge's head off.
But he has a code of honor too.
Very civil,
Like,
and he stole a horse.
And he made some guys save him, but afterwards he's like, all right, now I'm honor bound to save you, and now he's helping them with their troubles, which he doesn't have to do.
I mean, he's basically a mercenary because he told him he'd go kill for him.
Yeah, but he's doing it like he has this honor code, which I find really charming, and then a big brute kind of guy.
Yeah, a big brute mercenary honor code.
And eventually he like becomes a king. Like he starts off as this kind of like crappy thief, and then just like a fighter, and then he becomes a really just ruler because he was spat on his entire life for being like a lower class kind of guy. So he becomes like
he was a slave before.
Yeah, and he becomes a king eventually. And he's like the best king of all time. That's how his story ends. And it's fun watching that like episode 1-ish Conan.
I just kept picturing like Arnold in this, and
I've never seen those movies, and you like
dude,
them.
You should watch
You're
them.
clearly
They're
inspired.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But it was he talked too much to be Arnold.
Conan?
In this book, he was very chatty.
Yeah, have you read the novels though?
I read one of them a long time ago.
I loved him as a kid. He hates society, which like every young like punk emo kid does.
Yeah,
and he thinks that it's
very emo.
And he thinks that like people are dishonest, and even though they're civil to each other, they're being fake. And to be truthful is to be like violent and to like act on your base emotion. That's what reality is.
He's savage. It's the savage sword.
But there's nobility in that, where there's no BS with him. Like he's never gonna lie to you. He'll tell you if he hates you. He'll kill you if he like wants to fight you. But if he likes you, then he's your best friend, and you want him on your side forever.
And kids, that's how you should solve the world's problems.
It's an interesting viewpoint. The author was an insane guy too. Should I talk about him at
all?
all?
Robert E. Howard. Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing. You should talk about him.
Well, I mean, he was first of all, he was from Texas.
That's a very Texan viewpoint, Conan.
Yeah, that's how badass he was. But yeah, he constantly was engaging in bar fights and training to fight all the time. Even though he was a writer, I mean, he wasn't.
Which is uncommon for like a writer.
Yeah,
usually tiny guys.
He wasn't like a boxer or anything, but professionally. But he was always taking on these bar fights and beating up people.
He was very fearful too. Like he was beefy because he thought that he was going to be attacked for being a nerd.
Yeah, he was always doing.
He's a big fantasy D&D kind of guy. Yeah, and when he'd walk home because he didn't have a car, he would just shadow box. To show how tough he was, so that like bullies wouldn't attack him. And eventually later on in life, he got a gun and he would arbitrarily fire off shots as he was walking to show folks that he was armed because he was just terrified of being beaten up. And I guess he was almost blind, but he didn't wear his glasses.
In case there was a fight.
Yeah, because he thought that if he got punched, that the glasses go through his brain.
Yeah.
So he was just blindly shooting. He was insane.
Well, I think he had some sort of, I don't know, but this is just my speculation.
Yeah.
I think he may have had some sort of mental illness.
Well, yeah.
He was very, almost delusional in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's why he wrote so well.
Well, he thought Conan was real, and then he spoke to him.
No, really?
Yeah, he thought that he could hear of the past, and then Conan would come and dictate stories to him. Because he's like, I'm just a thug. I'm not a writer. How could I write stories like this? Like it must be some other force.
Yeah.
And his best friend was H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
And they never physically met. They were just pen pals.
And they died within months of each other.
Yeah, and he killed himself.
Yeah, which is kind of I hate to say bittersweet, but for such a big, tough, violent guy that Robert E. Howard was, he really was a mama's boy. he really loved his mom.
Yeah, Lovecraft too. They were both guys who wouldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
They were afraid of everything because their mothers just like isolated them and made them sheltered.
Yeah.
So then Lovecraft wrote stuff about like these giant alien gods who were the outside and how like you weren't safe if you went outside your house and how violent the world is and how like everyone is a murderer in his stories. Everyone, even his like protagonist is like a thug.
Yeah.
So,
and his mom though passed away. She was sick for a long time. I think she had some sort of cancer. I'm not sure, but she was bedridden for a long time, and then eventually she passed away. And he went into his room, wrote a short like little poem or line on his typewriter, grabbed his gun, and then went and shot himself.
Yeah, and he watched her kind of like wilt and fade away through cancer, and it's like he was obsessed with strength. He made himself like this big, giant Arnie of a man to not have to be like that.
Yeah, and he ended up just killing himself, and I think he was in his 20s after.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah, he wasn't out of his 20s when that happened, and it was really sad because he had a lot of talent.
And the cool thing is that he felt unappreciated, and like that's why he like ended his life. But like he's still beloved to this day. Like they're making comic books about him and movies and toys and stuff. And like he was an amazing talent who shouldn't have given up that early. And it's cool to see his stuff still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this book I really enjoyed. I think it's a very fresh take on the material. For a character that's been around forever, it's fun to see him kind of like contemporary and like you said, emo-ish. And it's a modern take on him.
Well, it has a like I said, I don't think I can see Arnold in this particular Conan revival because it has a lot of feeling, like it has a lot of sensitivity, I guess would be in a way.
Yeah, and there's still violence, but it's motivated by emotion and not just violence for violence's sake, which is the most like exciting kind in fiction.
Yeah, if Conan could cry, he would in here, but he doesn't, so he chops heads off.
Yeah, he cries tears of blood, but it's his opponent's blood, not his.
Yeah. He was the original Chuck Norris.
Yeah, that's true. So if you want to check out Chuck Norris with a sword, check out this book. And let us know what you think at facebook.com/heroesandvillainstucson or Twitter at
H&B Comics.
Yeah. So go swing those swords, ladies and gents.